Developed and published by CD Projekt in 2020, originally for the Sony PlayStation 4, personal computer on Microsoft Xbox One, was that of Cyberpunk 2077. The premise of the original game was that it was set in the future where advanced technologies is pivotal in everyday life. The main character, V, has to deal with a mysterious implant. The game was highly anticipated on early concepts of it showed revolutionary gameplay on details for a modern video gaming experience. But upon release, the game later had one of the worst launches for a title in modern video gaming, as there were countless problems with the game. Despite the fact that CD Projekt later spent years fixing the game's problems on repairing its broken trust with consumers for the disappointment that was Cyberpunk 2077, later versions of the fixed game proved to be an exceptional experience, but was never quite the original vision that the game first was. The minor character of Lizzy Wizzy was originally featured through promotional images for the game, which showcased some of the cybernetic aspects of life presented through Cyberpunk 2077, as opinions had it that Lizzy Wizzy would have been that of a supporting character depicted within the game's entirety. Due to the turbulent development, the character's design on portrayal was changed multiple times before the final presentation showed on depicted within Cyberpunk 2077 was released. Owing to CD Projekt's desire for authenticity, they actually approached Canadian musician Grimes to voice the character, and during an interview she accidentally released the entirety of details that weren't supposed to be made public before the game's release, but the publicity was later used to promote the game more. However, once the original game was released, all real references to Lizzy Wizzy were nearly non-existent, and the character was only really mentioned in extra lore for the game through shards that the player could have the choice with reading through the said in-game playthrough. Lizzy Wizzy was also shown through advertisements depicted all throughout Night City, which had the option of being witnessed or experienced by the player, but these weren't always acknowledged by casual gamers, and those with a keen eye or interest for the game would bother to examine the details for the character in-game lore. The full lore of the character had it that she was a successful celebrity and artist, but in one of the most newsworthy moments of the 2070s had it that she became fully cybernetic as a result of what had occurred during a concert of the time. During the said concert, towards the end of the performance, Lizzy ate a prop apple laced with a specifically prepared poison that caused cardiac arrest within her body once it went through her bloodstream. For an entire minute she was convulsing and writhing on stage, showing her having violent seizures and shaking atop the concert stage, live in front of the audience. Technically dead, the audience watched perplexed, horrified, and curiously for roughly 5 hours as the entire concert was stopped, while a team of Ripper doctors came on stage and performed life-saving surgery live during the performance to remove internal organs destroyed by the poison for the latest in cybernetic implants. Eventually, she was later revived by the implants and stood up to continue her performance, singing Restart, Reheart, Repeat, a song which, due to the circumstances of Lizzy Wizzy's death and revival, was well known in the early 2070s. To Lizzy Wizzy, she later commented that the entire ordeal that she had orchestrated was a sexualized reimagining of the classic European story of Snow White. The entire incident divided fans of hers as well as critics for and against the cyberization of the human race. The non-player character only technically appeared in the optional side quest Violence, as owing to V becoming a skilled mercenary through Night City, a mysterious person contacts V to meet up for an assignment, as V later meets the person as it's none other than the internationally well-known singer of Lizzy Wizzy, and learns that she actually developed feelings for and fell fell in love with her manager Liam, though she has her suspicions that he is actually cheating on her. V has doubts about the whole affair, but decides to go through with Lizzy Wizzy's request. Lizzy gives V an address to a club where Liam is, as V later heads there. Later confronting Liam, V learns that Lizzy hasn't been herself since the full body conversion, and is actually quite worried about her, even afraid of her as to what she might do to herself or people around her. As this information hasn't been made public, Liam considers making a copy of her personality using the Soul Killer / Mikoshi technology, just in case her actual personality becomes unstable, as Johnny Silverhand comments to V that it's actually similar to the situation that they're in. Upon his return to Lizzy Wizzy at the No-Till Motel, he explains the details. She's actually quite shocked and refuses to accept the situation with Liam on the fact that he's actually quite afraid of her, as she abruptly cancels the contract with V. Later, Lizzy Wizzy contacts V to meet up once more as soon as possible, as V goes back to meet Lizzy at the secluded hotel. As V enters the room to see a dead Liam on the floor and Lizzy standing over his corpse, V demands to know what happened, and Lizzy explains that she contacted Liam and told him to meet her. The both of them spoke, and the conversation later turned into an argument, as she claimed that she killed him accidentally. However, optional dialogue showed that V examined the body, and he further confronted her with the details that Liam was strangled, and that V speculated that Lizzy actually killed him excruciatingly slow, as Lizzy refuses to comment further about it, and says for V to get rid of the body, because a well-known celebrity like her couldn't afford to have such a negative reputation as the result of Liam's death, as V later disposes of the body. Even V is later disturbed by the entire incident with Lizzy Wizzy and makes references to the cyberpsychosis and cyberpsychos, that Lizzy Wizzy might end up in similar circumstances to them. As finally, he later gets a text message from Lizzy saying that the entire experience inspired her to create a brain dance on the details that she enjoyed the act of killing another human being, as that was it. In the original game, there were no further details of Lizzy Wizzy. On the side quest, essentially had a murderer just go back into normal society with no real implications or consequences of what she had done, as V later focused on other things in Night City. Speculations harder that there should have been more of Lizzy Wizzy or the side quest, especially with the fact that an international celebrity was essentially someone suffering from cyberpsychosis, and none of this was public knowledge. Only V and Lizzy Wizzy knew the truth of what had happened, as well as the fact that she was suffering from cyberpsychosis as a result of the full body modifications made to her years before. Theorists speculated that the whole situation with Lizzy Wizzy was a reflection of how life was in Night City, often unfair and violent, with death being a desensitized and often common occurrence, or that there might have been more, as players have discovered from what was later removed from the game that the side quest could have possibly had more to it. Sometimes a character can be forgotten because the game's development had a minor character be nothing like the original promoted concept.